This movie is about a middle school girl named Rhyme, along with her group of friends, Ellie, Quinn, and Kayla, who are all collectively known as the Chicken Girls. These girls are avid dance fans who love performing and overcoming any challenges coming their way together. At present, the girls are in high school, where they must overcome new challenges that include boy drama as well as a new yet surprising school law. Moving forward, the movie starts off with the main lead, Rhyme, in Paris with her crush, TK. Excited, Rhyme tells TK that this has been the most amazing date and thanks him for his efforts. In response, TK tells Rhyme that she deserves this and adds that he wanted their date to be completely magical. Finally, the two get closer and closer, ready to kiss. But just then, TK's friend Flash yells cut. It turns out that they aren't actually on a date. In reality, they are rehearsing a scene of their upcoming play, which is being directed by TK and Flash. Now annoyed, Rhyme complains that this is their 13th take and even exclaims that she needs to go to soccer practice. Similarly, TK explains that he's really tired so he wants to go home. Sadly, Flash ignores them and urges them to act out the scene again, claiming that their kissing scene needs to be perfect. Having no other options, Rhyme and TK proceed to act out the scene again, hoping this time they get it right. Later that day, Rhyme meets with the rest of the Chicken Girls and talks about how excited she is for the upcoming spring fling. With a deep sigh, she exclaims that she really wants to perform at the event. Quinn assures her that they'll definitely crush the auditions and secure a spot to perform at the spring fling. That's when Kayla wonders who they would be taking to the event. Ellie nonchalantly replies that she's going alone since good men are hard to find. Rhyme adds that she and her ex, Tim, are over, so she wants to take TK with her. Excited, she asserts that dancing with TK and going out with him would be a dream come true. She even adds that she'd love to have her first kiss with him. The girls tease her for it, but nonetheless, encourage her to ask TK out. Feeling enthusiastic, the girls start performing the song, Dancing on the Ceiling. Soon, various other students join them as well, and together, they all dance happily. They run towards the fountain and ask everyone around them to have fun and sing along with them. All their classmates dance excitedly while dreaming about the upcoming spring fling. Sadly, everyone's dream comes to a sudden halt when the new principal of Attaway High, Principal Anthony, angrily walks over to them and informs them that dancing in the hallways is no longer allowed. Ellie tries to argue but just gets yelled at instead. With no other option left, the girls quiet down and prepare to head to class. At class, they discuss who Principal Anthony really is and why she hates dancing so much. Just then, their classmate and rival Luna walks over to them and asks if they already have their dates to take to spring fling. Ellie lies and says that they have. However, Luna doesn't believe this and mocks them for being so stupid. She then tells the Chicken Girls that her group, Power Surge, will beat them at the auditions and will be the ones to perform at spring fling. To further infuriate them, Luna exclaims that she's thinking of taking TK to the dance with her. Before Rhyme can answer, their teacher walks into class and starts teaching almost immediately. Almost halfway through the class, Sheldon, a nerd, excuses himself and runs out of the classroom. He then approaches Principal Anthony and informs her that no one in his class cares about their academics anymore. Rather, they're all focused on dancing and spring fling. In the meantime, TK meets up with his friends, Flash and Ace, to discuss the upcoming play. He suggests they do another reshoot to make the drama perfect. However, Ace refuses to do so, claiming that the play has already taken a huge chunk of their time and that they should focus on basketball instead. Soon, Flash and Ace get into an argument about what they should do next. Thankfully, TK stops them and asks them to focus on the larger problem instead. He exclaims that they haven't been asked out to spring fling yet, so they should start looking for dates. Shortly after class, Ellie heads to the library and grabs some books to read. Whilst doing so, she puts on her headphones and starts singing. Because of this, a cute boy named Davis approaches her and asks her to keep quiet since they're all studying in the library. Ellie immediately apologizes for her behavior and puts her headphones away. Davis then sits next to her and tries flirting with her. Ellie, however, doesn't get the hint. Instead of flirting back, she asks Davis to move along because his charm isn't going to get him invited to spring fling. That's when Davis replies that he never goes to dances and just wants to help her study. Ellie is pleasantly surprised upon hearing this and agrees to study together. On the other hand, Flash also approaches Rhyme at the library and asks her if she'd like to act in a love story drama they're making. Flash continues raving about the play and even adds that TK is the director. In the end, he asks Rhyme to consider his offer, exclaiming that this might be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Moments later, Flash walks over to Kayla and asks who she's taking to Spring Fling. Kayla replies that she's still thinking about it. She asserts that she has a few candidates listed out and will choose from there. Right before leaving, she asks Flash to text her if he also wants to be considered as a potential candidate. Kayla then quietly walks away. Outside the library, Kayla meets TK, so she asks him if anyone has asked Flash to the dance yet. TK replies that they haven't. Hearing this, Kayla celebrates internally and runs out of the place. The next day, Senor Singer, the school's Spanish as well as drama teacher, welcomes all his students to the audition for the upcoming Spring Fling. With an excited expression, he informs everyone that only one team will be selected to perform at the event. With that, he asks everyone to showcase their talents one by one. After an unsuccessful singing attempt by a student named Hamilton, Ace walks up to stage and dances beautifully on a pop song. However, his performance is cut short when he and a girl get uncomfortably close. Despite this, Senor Singer is thoroughly impressed by his performance and praises his talent. Finally, the Chicken Girls get on stage for their turn. They dance gracefully and showcase various acrobatics. Sadly, they aren't able to complete their dance routine as the Power Surge team unexpectedly joins them on stage. This ultimately leads to a spontaneous and intense dance battle between the two groups. Both the teams perform excellently, which leaves Senor Singer pleasantly surprised. Excited, he claps loudly and wishes both the Attaway dance team and Power Surge all the best. A couple of hours later, Sheldon runs over to TK and Flash after seeing them videotaping the school for their movie. Concerned, he questions them about their right to shoot a video at school. With a smug look, he asks whether they have procured the proper permit for such an activity or not. When the two don't reply, he instructs them to follow him. Back in the auditorium, Senor Singer gets ready with the result. He then excitedly announces both the Attaway dance team and Power Surge have won the audition since there was a tie. This means that the two teams will perform together at Spring Fling. As expected, both Luna and Birdie groan in frustration and refuse to work together. Senor Singer, unfortunately, doesn't listen to their complaints and informs them that he's the only one who gets to make the decision. Now frustrated, both the teams rush to the principal's office to have a serious talk. At that moment, TK and Flash also arrive there because of their videotaping incident. After a long while of waiting, Principal Anthony ushers both teams into her office and asks them what their problem is. Both Luna and Birdie immediately begin ranting about how this decision is completely unfair. Birdie laments that Power Surge performs every year, whereas Luna protests that they're the better team, so they should be the only one performing. Upon hearing everything, Principal Anthony tells them that she isn't pleased with the way dancing and singing are prioritized over academics at Attaway High. With that, she asks TK to film a video of her that will be broadcast to the whole school. In the video, she tells all the students that their national test scores are incredibly low. She then explains that if the students can't prove to her that their academics are going really well, she will be forced to ban dancing and singing altogether. She even enforces a new rule that skirts must reach the knee, with ripped jeans being completely banned. After hearing the principal's message, both teams walk out of the office, clearly distressed. As soon as Birdie reaches outside, she notices Tim walking all alone. She quickly takes this opportunity to walk up to him and ask him to help her study. Tim readily agrees, assuming that they might even go to the dance together. Later that day, Rhyme meets up with TK, who is busy working on his film project. When she asks about it, he explains that he wants everything to be perfect. Rhyme nods and quietly observes him working intently. At one point, TK asks if she'd like to join him in taking some video shots across town. Rhyme agrees, and they end up spending the rest of the day together. They ride bikes together, and even take videos of each other, getting closer as they go. Finally, the sun sets, so the two part ways, promising to see each other again very soon. The next day, Principal Anthony approaches Senor Singer at school and inquires if he's the one in charge of the performance arts. Senor Singer replies that he is, and asks what the matter is. Principal Anthony replies that the students should focus more on their academics now. So, to smooth out the details, she invites Senor Singer over for dinner. She explains that she wants to discuss the idea of limiting the performing arts program. But during all this, she remains unaware that Rhyme is eavesdropping. Thankfully, Senor Singer politely declines her offer, telling her that his students possess a passion she simply doesn't understand. As expected, Principal Anthony is offended by this, so she angrily storms away with Sheldon tagging right behind her. Now furious, Principal Anthony goes to the library, where her worst fear comes true. She notices that the library is full of students, but none of them are actually studying. Sheldon even points out to Ellie, who appears to be singing happily. After school, Rooney's dad, Mr. Forrester, comes to pick her and Quinn up from school. The two argue about who gets to sit in the passenger seat. With no other choice left, they both run towards the car to reach it first. In the meantime, Bertie and Tim wrap up their study session, making plans for the next day. Out on the field, Flash and Ace toss a football around. While playing, a very anxious Flash tells Ace that Kayla actually texted him, but he never replied since he wasn't sure how to respond. With a depressed look, he exclaims that she will never ask him to the spring fling now. Hearing this, Ace just nods and remarks that Flash still has a lot to learn. Back at school, Tim prepares to walk home, but that's when he notices Sheldon and Principal Anthony discussing something. Suspicious, he eavesdrops on their conversation and tries to figure out what's really going on. The next day, the Chicken Girls walk to school while dancing and singing happily. They then start discussing their potential dates for the dance. Kayla tells everyone that she desperately wants to take Flash with her. Meanwhile, Rhyme thinks of ways to ask TK out. But right at that moment, all the students receive a message from Principal Anthony. Much to their dismay, they learn that the principal has canceled the spring fling, replacing it with a mandatory test, which happens to be a practice exam for their state assessments. In the video message, Principal Anthony also threatens all the students to stop dancing and looking for a date, or they would implement even stricter rules. As expected, all the students groan in disappointment and lament about the cancellation of spring fling. With no other choice left, the students start prepping for the test. They study day and night, fearful of what Principal Anthony might do next. Only 3 days are left for the exam, and all the students start panicking. On top of that, Principal Anthony goes to every single class from time to time to make sure they're studying properly. One day, the Chicken Girls meet at the library for a study session. There, Ellie notices that everyone is really stressed, so cracks some math jokes to lighten the mood. Sadly, nobody laughs and just continues studying. Eventually, Kayla suggests they study hard and get it over with. That's when Quinn finally opens up and says that she's not too disappointed, as she didn't have a date anyway. Kayla agrees and says that maybe the test isn't so bad. Rhyme is shocked by her friend's words, so she calls them out, explaining that the new principal is making their lives miserable. Frustrated, she storms off, but that's when she is stopped by Luna, who encourages her to step up as a leader and rally her friends against the principal. In the meantime, Ace decides to help Flash woo Kayla. He texts her from Flash's phone to sound cool. However, Kayla gets confused by the text and claims that Flash seems like two different people. Thankfully, Ace doesn't give up and continues texting Kayla, making sure that she starts liking Flash back. Seeing the two just focus on texting Kayla, TK shakes his head and walks over to Rhyme. He then asks her to join him for a study date. Later, Rooney and Quinn overhear their parents arguing. Concerned, Quinn worries that their parents are gonna split and talks about how they could get separated forever. Sadly, Rooney just brushes her off and heads out to spend time with her classmate, Hamilton. Back in the school's auditorium, TK walks over to his friend, Drew, and tells her about his relationship with Rhyme. He asserts that Rhyme always looks sad, so understanding what she wants is really confusing. In response, Drew asks him not to worry so much and even assures him that she'll come around. On the other hand, a very worried Rhyme talks to her sister, Harmony, about her troubles. She exclaims that she was really excited about dancing at Spring Fling and having her first kiss with TK. But now, all her dreams are crushed because of Principal Anthony. Harmony asks Rhyme to tell her all about Principal Anthony. Rhyme agrees and tells her how unlikable Principal Anthony really is. She even talks about the conversation that she had eavesdropped on earlier. Harmony quickly puts 2 and 2 together and uncovers that Principal Anthony actually has a crush on Senor Singer. So, in order to save Spring Fling, the two sisters hatch an amazing plan. They decide to get Principal Anthony to fall in love with Senor Singer. If that happens, she would definitely reinstate Spring Fling to sing and dance with him. For their operation to succeed, Rhyme enlists Rooney, Ace, and Luna to gather as much information as possible and come up with ideas to make Principal Anthony fall for Senor Singer. Their idea quickly takes flight when Rooney informs the group that Senor Singer visits his grandmother every week. The plan finally goes into action. Rhyme accidentally makes Sheldon spill his drink all over Principal Anthony. She then takes this opportunity to give the principal a cashmere scarf. When Principal Anthony says that she doesn't really like the color, Rhyme convinces her that Senor Singer loves her wearing pink. As expected, Principal Anthony happily accepts the gift. During all this, Ace approaches Senor Singer and asks him what he thinks about their principal. Senor Singer replies that despite being a respectable woman, she doesn't have any passion, which is a huge turnoff for him. So, to make things go faster, Ace urges him to shoot his shot while he has the chance, claiming that many other teachers are also planning on asking Principal Anthony out. In the meantime, Luna approaches Sheldon and misleadingly informs him that Rhyme has been skipping classes with a renegade group of kids to dance around. Sheldon is shocked to hear this, so he immediately notifies Principal Anthony about it. Soon, the two head to the location given by Luna, only to see an elderly home in front of them. When they enter the place, they see Ace happily performing. Infuriated, Principal Anthony demands they stop their little charade. She then looks around only to see Senor Singer lounging around. She immediately composes herself and asks what he's doing there, to which he replies that he's visiting his abuela. She also inquires if he's the one responsible for all the dancing and singing. In response, Senor Singer tells her that the kids are on their lunch break and are doing a really good deed. Rhyme and Rooney quickly take this opportunity to speak with an elderly couple. They ask the couple about their love story and how they usually work things out. That's when the couple tells Rhyme all about their proposal story, which ultimately reminds Rhyme of her feelings for TK. Luna, who's disguised as an elderly lady, dramatically falls in front of Principal Anthony. The principal rushes towards her, asking if she's okay. Luna replies that she just wishes for one last dance since she spent all her life working. Both Senor Singer and Principal Anthony are moved by her words, so they decide on reinstating the dance. However, there is a condition. Only the students who pass the test can attend Spring Fling. Luna, Rhyme, and Rooney celebrate excitedly and immediately start planning for their upcoming dance. At that moment, Rhyme realizes that amidst all this planning and plotting, she actually missed her study date with TK, who is now engrossed in his movie project. Meanwhile, Bertie and Tim continue their study sessions. They get almost all the questions right and celebrate happily. Since the dance is back on, Kayla continues texting Flash, hoping that he will take the hint. However, Ace asks him to ignore it and runs away with his phone. On the other hand, Rooney invites Quinn to study with her in Hamilton, but Quinn declines. With a solemn face, she says that she doesn't have a date to the dance, and with the way things are going, she might soon lose her sister as well. At the library, Davis asks Ellie if she's still going to the dance alone. Ellie replies that she is, but she'd love to have a dance partner. That day, Kayla approaches Flash and asks to speak with him. She then states that asking him was a mistake, and storms away. As expected, Flash is left disappointed with Ace trying his best to console him. Meanwhile, Hamilton suggests Rooney ask him to the dance, but she says she needs to ask someone else first. Hamilton is shocked by this, but Rooney asks him to trust her and just let things flow. While all this is happening, TK gives up on Rhyme and ignores her completely. Instead, he starts hanging out with Drew, and the two study together. On the day of the test, Rhyme runs into TK and apologizes to him for missing their study session. She then asks if he'd like to meet her after the test, since she has something important to talk about. TK agrees and wishes her all the best. He then walks away quietly. An hour later, the test commences, and all the students immediately get to writing. Ellie, Luna, Dry, TK, and Rooney easily solve the questions. Rhyme, however, has difficulty solving even the simplest of questions due to lack of preparation. One by one, all the students finish their tests and hand over their answer sheets. Rhyme, on the other hand, remains seated, just waiting for a miracle to happen. The results come in immediately, and all the students receive their scores. Ellie is thrilled with her performance, as are the others, except for Rhyme, who has failed due to a lack of preparation. Furious, Rhyme heads home and immediately blames Harmony for her failure, asserting that their operation distracted her from studying. Annoyed by Rhyme's blame shifting, Harmony suggests that Rhyme should stop taking advice from a 9-year-old. Despite her failure, Rhyme continues singing and preparing for the dance. In the meantime, Rooney approaches Quinn and assures her that no matter what happens, they'll always be sisters. Thankfully, they receive the happy news that their parents are not splitting up, much to their relief. The day of the dance finally arrives, and all the kids spend a lot of time getting ready. Davis decides to attend for Ellie's sake, while Ace and Flash plan to go together, since neither has a date. As Luna and her group take pictures and plan their dance for Spring Fling, Rhyme walks around her house, lamenting that all her friends will have the time of their lives, while she misses out on the entire experience. That very evening, Ellie, Kayla, and Quinn show up at Rhyme's house, where they sing Birds of a Feather together. Surprised, Rhyme urges them to go to the dance instead of wasting their time with her. That's when the girls reply that they don't want to go to the dance without her. They tell her that Rooney told them all about her idea, because of which Spring Fling is possible now. Rhyme just smiles at that and profusely apologizes to them for her recent behavior. She asserts that she was rude to them for no reason, which really isn't fair. Moments later, the girls give Rhyme a gorgeous present. They then concoct a plan to ensure she attends the dance. The dance finally kicks off with Ellie dancing with Davis, Birdie with Tim, and Rooney inviting Hamilton to dance with her and Quinn. In the meantime, Flash sees Kayla sitting all alone and decides to approach her. However, Ace asks him not to do so. Instead, he suggests Flash dance with another girl to make her jealous. Thankfully, this time, Flash ignores Ace's advice and confidently walks over to Kayla. He then comes clean about the texts. Kayla understands the situation and forgives him. The two then walk over to dance as well. Since Ace is the only one left, Luna approaches him and takes him to have a friendly dance with her. A while later, TK attends the dance as well. But since Rhyme isn't there, he just sits in a corner quietly. Drew sees him all alone and asks him to dance with her. That's when TK awkwardly tells her he just sees her as a friend and nothing more. Drew laughs upon hearing this, explaining that the feeling is mutual since he's a lot younger than her. As expected, TK is relieved and agrees to the dance. While swaying around, he explains that he can't find Rhyme anywhere. Whilst all this is happening, Senor Singer approaches Principal Anthony and inquires if she's having fun. Before she can even answer, he asks her to dance with him. As expected, Principal Anthony readily agrees, and the two prepare to dance the night away. In the meantime, TK goes to grab some punch. He meets Sheldon at the drink station, who informs him that Rhyme couldn't attend the dance because she failed the test. TK is stunned to hear this. He immediately leaves the dance to meet her. Back at the dance, the Attaway dance team and Power Surge finally reconcile. Just as they're about to start their performance, Rhyme arrives in a special chicken suit. Sadly, Principal Anthony immediately spots her and accuses her of sneaking into the dance. Not wanting to ruin the night, Rhyme agrees to study extra hard if she's allowed to dance. Principal Anthony, whose perspective has completely changed now, happily agrees. With nothing stopping them anymore, the Attaway dance team and Power Surge perform together. They dance really well, and the entire audience cheers loudly for them. After the dance, Rhyme heads home and apologizes to Harmony for acting so rude. She begs her sister to forgive her, and thankfully, Harmony agrees. The two immediately reconcile, and that's when Harmony asks Rhyme to go outside. There, Rhyme sees TK waiting for her. Without saying a word, TK shows her the film that he'd been working so hard on. It turns out that the film is really about the two of them. The entire movie appears to be a montage of all the moments they spent together. Rhyme is touched by this and asks TK if they can be more than friends. TK agrees, but then, he also tells her that he's going away for the whole summer with Flash. Rhyme is heartbroken to hear this and tries her best to maintain her composure. She wishes him all the best and proceeds to leave. But just as she's about to go back into her house, TK asks her to wait. The movie finally ends with the two kissing and starting a new chapter of their lives together.